All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to the arcade. And today I want to take some time to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6 with everybody because as time goes on and as we get closer to the release, obviously people are still going to be making content on it. People are trying to figure out what we haven't found out about the game yet. People are trying to predict what the numbers are going to be upon release. But here I am having a much more basic type of conversation, right? As if you and I were in the car, and just driving around or whatnot, and we were just having a discussion about how big we think Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be. Because originally, I actually had a conversation in the car over 20 years ago with my best friend back before Halo 2 came out, because we were at the place to where the GameStop was located in terms of, when Halo 2 was going to come out and released for the midnight release, et cetera, et cetera. And I basically asked my friend, I said, "Hey, Halo 2 is your most anticipated release, right?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Which game?" And he looked at me and he said, "San Andreas." So I think all of us can pretty much understand the hype behind Grand Theft Auto, whether you're a Grand Theft Auto fan or not, whether you're a fan of the games or not. I think we can all pretty much understand why those games are as big as they are. And with this one here, I mean, being in development for like what, 10 years or something like that, and by a studio that actually knows what they're doing, knows the genre, knows the fans, is always, trying to, up themselves every single time and stuff like that. It's a big celebration when every Grand Theft Auto comes out. And the last one that came out was during the Black Ops 3 era, right? In 2015. And I remember even seeing the content creators that were basically Call of Duty content creators briefly stop so that way they can make and stream Grand Theft Auto content. It's almost like the other aspects of the gaming world kind of shift a little bit and temporarily like pause or whatever whenever a new Grand Theft Auto game comes out. And when you're talking about this one and just how anticipated it is, I think it's going to go way beyond that. Like, obviously, when you're talking about sales numbers and stuff like that, obviously those numbers are going to be like shattered and new records will be set and stuff like that. But I think there's going to be a ton of content creators that are going to come out of the woodworks thanks to Grand Theft Auto 6. There's going to be content creators that are going to basically progress on their content creation journey because of Grand Theft Auto 6. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be streaming for as long as possible without stopping, so that way they can get to the end of the story as quickly as possible and doing as much as they can in between as quickly as possible. Now, obviously, there's going to be a lot of side quests and stuff like that, so I don't think people are going to 100% the game, like too fast, because again, these games are absolutely huge, which is one of the reasons why they take as long as they take to develop. And then, of course, people are saying that the online component, which is Grand Theft Auto Online, is going to be coming out after release, but I don't think we know that yet. It may come out at release, but I'm not sure. I don't think so, but that's another big chunk of the game as well. When you think about it, it's a really big chunk of the game because, Grand Theft Auto Online continues to be a really big deal to this day. Now, with that being said, I think this game, when it does release for like about a week or so straight, it's going to be all over the news. It's going to be like people are going to be calling off of work. It's going to be kind of insane. Like, I think it really is one of those once in a lifetime type of impacts of a game. And even people that are not fans of GTA, I think will be tempted to buy it. At least a percentage of them will, because again, when you have a game that's literally like once in a lifetime type of game, or if across the board that people are praising a game because it's that good, or celebrating a game because it's that good, or anticipating it to this degree, which to my knowledge there hasn't been any other game that's been anticipated to this degree. Right? There have been other games throughout history that have been greatly anticipated, but to this degree, I mean, this is GTA 6's anticipation is on a whole other level, right? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. Whether you're a fan of the franchise or not, I think that's a fair statement to make. But with that being said, it is as far as places like GameStop is concerned, right? I think it's a little too soon for them to announce that they're going to have a midnight release. Although it wouldn't surprise me if they do announce it way ahead of time, because it's going to be that big of a game to be anticipated. But with that being said, I know we're in the year 2025. I know midnight releases are hardly a thing anymore. I know that people that are of this generation don't really understand the big deal about a midnight release, because it's like, hey, well, would you go to a midnight release when you can just have the game pre-downloaded onto your system, and at the stroke of midnight, wham bam, you can play right there. You don't have to be anywhere, you don't have to wait in line, et cetera, et cetera. And I understand that from that aspect. However, back in the day when midnight releases were a regular thing and when they actually meant something, it was like an event. It was a big deal, especially when you're looking at, anywhere from, let's say, the mid 2000s and beyond, right? Up until I would say maybe about 2018, give or take, because the last one that I went to was God of War, 2018's God of War, and I attended that without a care in the world. I absolutely loved it. I adored it. Again, midnight releases to me, I understand them because I've been to a bunch of them. Between, the I would say my first one I think I went to was, I think, 2008 or 2009. I believe it was Halo Reach when I went to my first one. I could be wrong, but again, this was a long time ago. But with that being said, do you think that they should do a midnight release for a game like this, or do you think that it's just way too big to where it's going to be difficult to contain or something like that? Because like with GameStop, for instance, they've always been really great at basically getting everybody in and out, as quickly as possible once you get to the stroke of midnight, right? They've been really great with that, right? So with that being said, should tradition continue for this one time, for this release, right? Because they don't happen as often anymore, and more people are going digital and stuff like that, which makes sense, but should an exception be made for this one, right? And if so, how nuts is it going to be? You're going to drive around the plaza of your local GameStop, for instance, right? And it's going to be like, I don't know, like 11, right? An hour until release, and you're going to see like a huge crowd of people just gather around this one store, right? It wouldn't surprise me if police are going to be pulling up to so many GameStops across the country, just so that way they can help contain in case things go nuts or whatnot, despite the fact that it's just, because the most amount of people that I would see is maybe a couple hundred here or there, give or take, right? But I think with Grand Theft Auto 6, I think those numbers are going to be amplified per store, right? You're going to be seeing like it's going to be everywhere, dude. And I wonder, like, and the thing is, I wonder, do they have a limit to how many people can show up at midnight releases? I don't remember. I don't remember there ever being one, really. I mean, obviously the game has the store has a limit to how many copies it has. And I think that would be the limit, right? Like, how many copies does the store have? And that's basically your limit, right? So, and I'm just wondering how many copies of a game does come out, does a store hold that it can release? That's the interesting part, and I think it's going to be crazy in terms of how many copies are going to have to be made. But again, we're in a day and age now to where more and more people are going digital. But I wouldn't be surprised if the midnight release ends up being something big that not even your most hardcore gamers in this day and age would anticipate. Because one thing that all of us that went to midnight releases back in the day, if there's anything that we can say that we definitely miss, is we miss those times. Now, granted, those times were different than times of today, but if you could, one more time relive those times and have the biggest final celebration bash ever for a game that's going to be the most anticipated release like ever, in my mind, I'm thinking that would be worth it. But not everybody will agree. I mean, some people have grown out of it. Some people basically will say, no, I just get it digital now. I don't go there anymore. Plus, I don't have the time. People have families now and stuff like that. But then there's those people out there that won't care, and they'll make an exception just this one time. So I'm actually really interested in terms of, where you guys are at when it comes to this, right? Because as you grow older, times change, priorities change and stuff like that. But will you make an exception for this one if they allow it, right? If they allow for midnight release, will you make an exception for this one? And have you already scheduled, time off of work for when this game releases, right? Have you already done that? And as well as some of the younger folks that are, going to school and stuff like that are like, are you going to take a day off from school? I am anticipating that when Grand Theft Auto releases, right, which will be the 26th of May, if I'm not mistaken, I think that there will be people that will be taking time off of school, whether it's especially in high school, right? Especially for high school. College, I don't think it'll be as much for college because, you know, obviously they're paying for it, right? But public schools, as far as high school is concerned, I'm expecting the teachers to have an easy day the following day, you know, because I think a lot of kids are just going to be getting the game and they're going to be, whether they go to the midnight release or not, you know, they're going to get the game and they're just going to be playing the living shit out of it, you know, to the point to where they're not going to go to sleep and they're going to be too tired to go to school, or they're just going to be up all night and they're just going to say, forget school. But there might even be a few people that actually decide to go to school after playing it all night and not sleeping at all. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's going to be bananas. It's going to be nuts. And I think stories like this, as well as the sales and as well as midnight releases, if they do happen, are going to make, they're definitely going to make headlines when it comes to the news when this thing comes out. So I want to know in the comment section down below where you stand on this. What are you predicting is going to go down? What do you think? You know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if when Grand Theft Auto Online comes out with server crashes and stuff like that, but it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big celebration for gamers across the globe. And a lot of people are heavily anticipating it because of the amount of views for the trailers and stuff like that that we've gotten. And we still don't know so much about the game, which is another thing that makes the game so enticing, right? It's like, what else are we going to see? What else are we going to be able to do? You know, what else are we going to be able to discover? Are we going to be like, what kind of nutty, crazy things are going to be happening in the story that's going to like not only make headlines, but like make for interesting content, interesting videos and stuff like that? Because when it comes to the side quests of the game, you can pretty much, you know, go wherever and do whatever. And I think a lot of people are just going to be making, you know, obviously different decisions in terms of where they go and what they do. And it's like, okay, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? So I'm really curious as to as to what you guys think about this. So with that being said, as always, I like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait to read to what you guys have to say down below. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.